Just so everybody knows, I'm breathing in fumes right now.
Oh, because I had to start the beast up?
That's correct.
I had to start the beast up?
Yeah, I love that. Because what happens is all that carbon monoxide sits right here, right now. So I'm getting high.
That's what those fans are.
I've gotten to do amazing things. About 5 of my friends' houses. You know, I've got to help Brendan when Brendan needed help. You know, I've got to like be there for my friends.
Love help with my mortgage and my home. I love that.
You just really need it, bro. I need to feel. I need to feel. Bring it, Brian. I need to feel that you really need it.
She's so much stronger than Brian.
But I mean, Brian, if you could.
Brian could do that.
Brian
Yeah, just like this.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
She did hold it up, though, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I don't like this podcast. It's a shit podcast right now.
Here's some bodies for you,
I
Brian.
want to quit right now. Oh, there we go.
Every week, Bryan Callen gets closer and closer to walking out on Brendan Schaub and quitting The Fighter and the Kid. We've passed the low-energy phase of the podcast. Now we've moved into Brendan's last-ditch effort to save the thick boy empire by getting rich dudes on the show and begging them for money. I honestly didn't think they would last this long when they moved to Texas, but now it looks like they're running on fumes. Literally. But I'll get to their latest guest, Aubrey Marcus, in a moment. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's one of Papa Rogan's former business partners, the guy who founded Onnit. He brought on tall and funny scientist Joe Rogan to collaborate on the now infamous Alpha Brain supplement, and then sold the whole company to global personal care corporation Unilever during the pandemic for over $200 million. However, like I was just saying, all is not well in the Lone Star State, because Bryan is getting sick and tired of having to put up with Brendan's constant exaggerations and fake hype over his latest discoveries.
Styles Switch Barbecue.
Why do you say it's good? Because I have to be honest. Dude, you're one of those guys, you annoy me because you'll be like, the best wings, the best pizza. I'm like, it's just wings.
Yeah, no, their wings were good. But
That's like Brendan's equivalent to Andrew Schultz's epiphanies. When he figures something out for himself, it's the next best thing and he cannot wait to tell everyone about it. You know, like a child. And that's the ongoing theme with Brandon. It seems like the more things slip away from him, the more immature and juvenile he becomes. There's a segment in the podcast with Aubrey Marcus later on that I'll play for you, where if you close your eyes, it feels like you're back in middle school all over again. Except then you open your eyes and realize you're watching 3 grown men dressed like teenage fuckboys, unironically talking out of their asses. But the thing for Bryan Callen is that he's clearly struggling financially, and the daily grind of having to turn up to Brendan's storage unit to record the podcast twice a week, while being forced to inhale fumes from Bupper's beast of a trug, and then slogging it out at the comedy mothership where he's constantly workshopping new material, that doesn't seem to land. Well, it's all starting to weigh on him. For Bryan, everything's a business transaction for him now.
Aubrey Marcus, I haven't seen you in way too long. I've been here more than 4 months.
I know, bro.
But we get to a certain age, buddy, where it's like, if we ain't making money, if we're not doing business or learning, it's hard to just hang out. When I'm too old to be hanging out. I got kids.
Well,
I got kids.
Yeah, Ob didn't have kids.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how we're starting comedy podcasts these days. I'm sorry I haven't seen you since I moved to Texas. I couldn't justify it financially. But we shouldn't be too hard on Callen. It must be hard to support 5 separate families while still living in the shadows of all the allegations that were leveled at you a few years ago, forcing you to work for a guy you clearly despise as you cruise into your 60s with no end in sight. And now that Bryan called out Joe Rogan for cosplaying as a scientist on the recent Fight Companion, I'd say his opportunities at the mothership are drying up too. Personally, I'm sad for him. I really wanted this move to Texas to work out for him so he could finally escape from captivity and leave Brendan behind once and for all, just like Theo Von did. But the thing is, I'd rather watch the fighter and the kid die a long, slow death of 1,000 tiny cuts until the lights literally go out in the middle of a pod. Oh no, wait, that already happened. But all jokes aside, no pun intended, their most recent episode with Aubrey Marcus was eye-opening to say the least. I've been documenting their struggle to book guests on the show on this very channel, and here we are with quite possibly one of the slimiest snake oil salesmen you've ever seen, here to lecture us on authenticity, on The Fighter and the Kid. He's lecturing us about authenticity on The Fighter and the Kid. All right, I've made my point. Let's roll the tape.
I'm still taking Alpha Brain now, along with the new correct supplements.
Yeah.
You know, there's an interesting study I just saw that was Zach Bush was talking about, where they put people in a Faraday cage and then they measured their electromagnetic frequencies and everything that was happening in their body. And when they brought them into emotions of like extreme joy, like talking about a sentimental moment with their grandmother or something with their wife or their kids, the time their kids were born, and they brought them into that moment, there was a spike of energy, whether it was from the heart field or the mental field, but there was a spike of energy that was measurable. And then when they asked them about other traumatic, experiences or places where they were super vulnerable or bad things happened, they saw the same equal amount of energy expelled. And the theory being actually that it's authenticity that actually spikes the field, because our souls are in truth. Like our spirit body knows truth. We know the frequency of it. We know the resonance of it. And so when you tap into truth, actually your whole body lights up.
I couldn't.
And so truth is even more important than the positive emotions, just being real.
Well, I think especially now, like with AI, like Rogan and Santino were talking about, like AI is going to take over and it's going to ruin the entertainment business and all these jobs. I think there's going to be a thing where being authentic destroys all that, where we're going to be able to tell what's AI, but then the people that are authentic and actually have talent are going to be bigger than ever.
So the guy who lied about his football career continues to take anabolic steroids for recreational use, got caught cheating on his girl multiple times, sued a YouTuber for exposing him, and was then forced to submit a sworn affidavit to the court admitting that he'd blatantly lied multiple times on his podcast, is telling us on that very podcast, propped up by fake views and bots, that authentic creators with talent are gonna be in high demand once AI takes over. And we're only just getting started with this episode. The absolute lack of self-awareness on display is mind-blowing. You've got Brendan Schaub, the human embodiment of failure, sitting there nodding along to snake oil salesman Aubrey Marcus talking about the power of authenticity, while Bryan Callen's soul visibly leaves his body with every passing minute. You can literally see Bryan calculating in real time how many more episodes of The Fighter and the Kid he'll have to sit through before all his kids turn 18 and he's no longer on the hook for child support. Meanwhile, Bupper's sitting there thinking he's about to stage a comeback off the back of a supplement collaboration between him, Rogan, and Aubrey. What if I can get the Scorpions to milk themselves? When I was listening to this episode, I thought to myself, this is the perfect snapshot of a dying brand. Even the bots are hate watching at this point.
Is that going to be a real fight? Did you say it was an exhibition?
Exhibition. Yeah. How do you feel? This is my thing on it. We both, like, you're closer with Jake than I am. We both love Jake.
Yeah.
I'm with Dana when he was on Impulsive, and he's like, dude, you and your brother fight guys your size.
Right.
He's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, fight people your fucking size, man.
It is.
I'm a little bit like with the Gervonta Davis, Jake, it's like, all right, can Gervonta deal with the size? But I just don't. For Jake, and he has this, it appears, you'd know better than most, he has like this yearning for whatever reason. He wants this cosign, this validation from the boxing community. He just, for whatever reason.
That's 100% in his sights. But in the meantime,
my thing is like, this is pushing that further and further, because I think he was kind of here, and then the Gervonta Davis, the Mike Tyson's going, voot,
well, so he just did. So he has this kind of strategy where he'll fight a legit fighter. Like Chavez Jr. was getting a little older, but it still got him ranked. But then he'll go for something that's just a spectacle. And we remember the spectacles in the Pride days where you had some little guy versus a big guy. And everybody's asking that question, how will speed do against size? And then Jake capitalizes on this question that's in people's mind, has a fight.
He's making tons of money.
And like that. So he has this strategy of like, all right, let me go do the thing that's going to get maximum attention.
Meanwhile, he's getting better as a
Netflix is
boxer.
going to co-sign, and then he'll go switch back and then fight another fighter who's on his track. No doubt that his goal above anything is to be the cruiserweight champion.
That's what I don't get. If I'm Jake being legit in boxing, being the cruiserweight champion, I think that's going to be more difficult than he thinks. Just keep doing the circus.
All right, so let me tell you.
Keep making the money in the circus.
Jake's one of my best friends.
Of course, this guy is best friends with Jake Paul. So far, everything checks out. And did you see our boy flip-flopping around, desperately trying to agree with Aubrey about Jake Paul's career trajectory? First it was, I agree with Dana. Why doesn't Jake stick to fighting people his own size? And then after Aubrey spun his web around Schaub's head, he came out with, why is he trying to push for the cruiserweight title? Just stick to the circus money fights. Oh, buddy, what are we doing here? Whenever Brendan's in a room with someone wealthier than him, he goes into autopilot and ends up on his knees searching for the truth. Callen, on the other hand, wasn't convinced. One of the only redeeming features of Bryan's character is his willingness to call people out on the spot. After sitting there listening to Aubrey washing Jake Paul's balls, he'd finally had enough and said what we were all thinking.
Usually me and Ob talk before the fights, and Ob predicts the win. And he's been right, 3 for 3?
Like, no, 6 for 6.
When we
talked 3 of the times we saw we'll go into meditations together and breath work, and we'll have visions, and they've happened to turn out, oftentimes in strange ways. Like, we're going to have a picture of the fighter you just knocked out on all fours. You can get knocked down in a lot of different ways, but we just saw that moment. Their mindset is in the right place, and I think that'll play to Jake's advantage. But let me just answer the question, why is Jake doing this?
I don't get it.
Doing this. I
get the money thing.
Because he's got plenty of money.
I know.
And so at a certain point, the money doesn't matter as much. But what Jake needs is he needs some kind of thing that's scary to him and dangerous to him to actually keep him
alive
on the path. Yeah, on the path
I get it.
Where he's not off the rails. I think it ends with Jake being a cruiserweight belt holder. I don't know if they'll unify the belts or whatever, but they'll find a path to like somebody in the cruiserweight who has a belt. And I think Jake's going to bring that energy of shocking somebody with the attention. Jake's positive energy that we're working on the whole time. Like, what people don't realize is this is also, for anybody who's seen Chief of War, which is a great show out now on Apple TV Plus. At the end, they have and this isn't a spoiler. At the end, they have a battle, and in the battle, it's like, let the spiritual warfare begin, and their own shamans and singers start calling in the spirits of the elements and all, and like everything good to get the mind and the spirit aligned. And Jake's doing that at 100. He's got, Lucas Mack, who's one of the best breathwork practitioners. He's got myself and Vailana singing the sound bowls. Like, we're bringing the best spiritual energy. He's got Aubrey, the best training.
Excuse me, because he's not going to say it. I really appreciate that. I really do. Thank you for your spiritual energy, bro. Because when he's in there with a cruiserweight contender, some dude who's been throwing his right hand since he was 7, I don't think a lot of that's going to matter. Yeah. That's a big problem to solve.
About I say that Alex Pereira does the same thing.
I'm sure he does, but Alex Pereira's also been training for a long time.
Of course. But I'm saying it's the mix.
Yeah, it's the mix.
Like Alex Pereira, when he does that thing where he walks out, it's for real.
Yeah.
It's for real. Yeah. He's bringing some dark magic. He's bringing some deep jungle energy.
Did he just say deep jungle energy? What the fuck did we just listen to? I lost several IQ points after listening to that clip. Deep jungle energy sounds like his next supplement line. Imagine admitting you're friends with Jake Paul in public, but then doubling down by claiming you're his breathing and spiritual coach while wearing those pants. It was only a few weeks ago that Jake Paul announced he was quitting podcasting because he's not good at talking, and his brother and all his friends agreed with him. Jake thinks he's cooking by fighting a guy almost 70 pounds lighter than him in an exhibition fight. But that wasn't the worst part. Being such good friends and a former business partner of Joe Rogan, I should have known that Aubrey Marcus was trained in the fine art of stand-up comedy worship. You guys know I don't usually do this, but I'm issuing an official cringe warning to anyone new here, or just for anyone with a weak stomach. It's like that old saying goes, laughter is the best medicine.
All spiritual people need friends like all of us, because we can get way too serious.
Yes.
Also, laughter is the most underrated shit. As far as cultivating good energy. You want to feel good energy? Find a comic that's dialed in, that's locked in, and you're under a spell of hilarity, and your gut is bursting.
I say that to people.
It's like ecstasy.
Yeah,
it's the best thing.
People who hate on comics, I always say, "Hey, face." Like, we literally spend all our time trying to make people laugh. That's the worst we are. We're dicks. We're not great, but for the most part, I promise you, the comics that you're hating on, whoever they might be. All we do all day is sit around and try to think of ways to be funny.
Look, I work with the best shamans in the world, and the best shamans in the world can cultivate a level of positive energy that keeps you safe and keeps you like focused on what you're learning. The comics are better than any great shaman. Yeah. They're able to take a whole stadium. Try to get one ayahuasca shaman to get a whole stadium. Maybe they could. Maybe if they're the baddest of the baddest.
Tim Dillon can
but you get a whole stadium in the same energy, laughing, and it's the best, highest frequency energy that you can possibly imagine. Like comics are laughter shamans in a way, and it's like, and I have so much respect.
So true. So true.
Brandon was awfully quiet during that entire conversation. He wanted absolutely none of that, but that was just a bridge too far for me. As you all know, I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy. However, we're getting to a point where comedy worship is out of control. The Austin comedy gatekeepers aren't just trying to monopolize comedy, they're trying to monopolize laughter. Do these guys actually believe the bullshit coming out of their own mouths, or are they just so dialed into their grift that it all comes naturally to them now? Aubrey Marcus was talking about laughter like it's some sacred psychedelic ceremony, while Brendan Schaub was sitting there looking like a kid in timeout. The comedy writes itself with these Muppets. And Bryan Callen's speech about comedians spending every waking minute thinking of how to be funny is just as bad. The reality is they spend every waking minute scheming how to grift off their audience. This brand of pseudo-spiritual grifting is next level. The Austin comedy assassins have moved on from promoting vitamin supplements to pitching their comedy as vitamins instead. And we all know the golden rule of comedy in Austin. If at first your audience doesn't laugh, just keep saying it until they do.
Every conspiracy theory always has a bunch of Jews who are controlling the world, and it's like,
well, that's the term cabal, and I think that's like,
that's right. By the way,
cabal comes from Kabbalah.
I've never seen,
and so it's actually a Jewish slur. And so this idea that it's the Jews, well, they've been getting blamed for a lot of shit. And
2,500
certainly,
years.
I think there's probably Sith Jews, and probably full-on Jedi. I know some full-on Jedi Jews. I'm fucking Jewish. Like, I care more about the good
Damn, you're
than
Jewish?
anybody. Yeah, 87% Ashkenazi.
Damn.
So like fundamentally, yeah, they can go both paths for sure. I mean, they have. There's something.
No.
There's something that's in the. I think it's also
we'd
like
you to leave.
That's why.
So there's this idea of.
I went, you're Jewish. He goes, yeah. I went, get out.
So there's this idea of the genetic bottleneck theory.
You got there in the end, Brendan. There's no trend that Bappa won't jump on board with. Did you see how proud of himself he was there? There's nothing quite like interrupting a conversation to explain a joke that didn't land in the first place. One suggestion though, Chin, if you're listening, please get Brandon to say the word anti-Semitism. Seriously, could you imagine? That would be epic. And then after he says it, ask him what he thinks it means. Come on, Chin, you've got the opportunity to do something really funny here. But getting Aubrey Marcus on as a guest is just further proof of just how desperate these guys are. We heard Brendan complaining just the other week over on his Patreon that it's too hard to book guests because he's too busy with the kids to make a phone call or send an email, and also for some reason, Bryan doesn't want to ask anyone in the Mothership Green Room to come on the show. So all that's left is a Rogan affiliate who peaked in 2016 selling nootropics to CrossFit dads. This guy takes word salad to a whole new level. Hopefully, though, Brendan is officially entering his spiritual phase. We all knew it was only a matter of time before he entered his right-wing Christian arc. Could you seriously imagine him sitting there on his own after everyone's left him, fumbling his way through the Bible, trying to explain the subtext of each passage? Meanwhile, Bryan Callen, who just recently publicly humiliated Joe Rogan, now finds himself spiritually handcuffed to the very man-child that Rogan helped to create in his own lab. This is actually a new experience for Bryan. For once, he's being forced to suffer the consequences of his own actions. That was a low blow. I think that's enough slander from me for today. Make sure you check out the link in the description to my Patreon if you're interested in seeing my breakdowns of Kill Tony, as well as my comedy special reviews and much, much more. And if you want to see more cringe outside the podcast universe, head over to my newest channel, More Cringe, and get subscribed so you don't miss out on my uploads throughout the week. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.